Let's call to order the Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting for Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023 at 7 p.m. We'll start, of course, with the roll call. I, Stephen Antonio, am here. Julianne Hogan.
Present.
Sorry. Ram Kaza.
I'm here.
Sharon Thomas. Sharon is here physically, but not audibly at this point.
Yeah, she's there.
No worries. Mark Freeman.
I am here.
All right. And I am Larry Boardman. Sorry, Larry. Yeah. I didn't mean to skip over you.
Stephen, you can't hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Now we can.
All right. So that establishes a quorum. So I'll just acknowledge who our two new players are. We've got Brittany, who has stepped away, but she is our assistant planning director, or Brittany, what's your title now? I'm so sorry.
I'm assistant town planner.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for that. And our new liaison is, of course, Joe, that I think everybody knows at this point. And he is now the ZEO. He has assumed Laura's position, so he is our direct liaison. With that acknowledgement being made, let's move right into application ZBA 23-05. Tarek Roslin, Simsbury Capital LLC, owner applicant, for a plus or minus 17-foot variance to reduce the front yard setback from 35 feet to 18 feet pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.9, for the construction of a 777 square foot attached garage on the property located at 24 Village Road. Mr. Roslin, I assume you'll be presenting for yourself? I shouldn't assume. Will you be presenting for yourself? Okay, if you could just state your name and address as a matter of record and let us know what you're looking for and what the hardship is as well, please.
Great, yeah. Thanks to the committee for reviewing the application, and to the town staff as well for their help and guidance and presenting the application. My name is Tarek Roslin, a resident in Simsbury, 303 Firetown Road. So this property is just down the street from me, maybe 2 minutes down the road. The house is, I'm actually a developer and builder, but this house is going to be for my mother and her husband. And so the proposed garage, as you mentioned, it's a 2-car garage. It's 777 square feet. It's kind of a nice number, but sorry, let me just mute my phone for a second. It's the dimensions of it are 24 feet wide by 27 feet deep, which are pretty standard for a 2-car garage. It's to accommodate 2 vehicles, and we are putting in a little bit of space there to accommodate refuse bins internally, which is increasingly important in Simsbury for our Simsbury-ness, the bears. So for safety reasons, we want to bring those bins inside. There's a small bump out section at the back of the garage to accommodate stairs, because the garage is adjacent to the house, and there's about a 2 feet difference in height between the grade of the garage and the main living area. And I know this is a personal reason, but one of the occupants is handicapped, and so there's an accessibility ramp there at the front of the garage as well. This wasn't our preference, really, from a design perspective, to be able to have the orientation of the garage be perpendicular to the house was the initial design preference. And so the garage doors would be facing the south instead of facing the road. Unfortunately, on inspection of the property, and the septic system basically wraps around the entire front yard of the property, making accessibility from any other point other than straightforward impossible. Additionally, the orientation, if we were able to orient the garage again perpendicularly, we would be able to use the width of the yard to accommodate the depth of the garage, because the garage dimensions are a little bit deeper, and accessibility would be easier as well. However, again, because of the location of the septic system there, it makes it impossible to be able to accomplish that within the 35-foot boundary line in the setback. The reasonable use of the house would accommodate for a two-car garage because of the orientation of the property and its septic system, small lot size, and the 35-foot setback requirement. This is the legal hardship that exists here. Let me see if there's any other thing here. We did get a letter of support from all of the immediate abutting properties. And so that was included in the application. If you review the neighborhood, I would say about 90% of the homes in that neighborhood have two-car garages. The property adjacent to ours as well also received a variance to allow similarly for a two-car garage as well. And so it's in harmony with the design aesthetics of the neighborhood. We included a rendering in the application as well, just to sort of give a demonstration of what we're looking to accomplish. And I think that's it, unless there's any questions specifically as well.
Great. Well, thank you for that summary. I do have some, my first question's pretty basic. I apologize, I'm toggling between screens. You said the garage is 27 feet deep, but I believe when I looked at it, the garage was deeper than that. I apologize.
Right. When you,
which screen it's on.
No, yeah, so there's a sort of an additional 7-foot kind of bump out at the back, which is to accommodate the stairs going from the garage into the house.
And that's because of the change in elevation?
Yeah, so there's a
Okay.
2 feet change in elevation there.
Okay.
Where's it? I apologize, but where's a 10-foot change in elevation?
A 2 foot.
It's a 2-foot change in
Oh, all right.
elevation.
It looks pretty flat on the picture that we were provided. I suppose there
Yeah,
could
you
be.
can see,
It must
you
be
can see
on
it's
the
just
incline.
about like, three steps basically.
Right, 2.5, but yes, give or take. So what is the total depth of the garage though?
So including that bump out, just 1 minute, sorry. I'm toggling. window
I
pane.
feel your pain.
Um,
If it's any help, it's on page 26.
26. Yeah, so it's 27.
You had said 27 deep.
35 feet is with the 7-foot bump out in
Right.
front. That's right.
Right. So the garage itself is 27 plus the bump out.
That's right.
Which puts you kind of far out. I do understand the one that is to your north, if I'm not mistaken, that has the detached garage is a little weird. But I'll be honest with the other commissioners. I don't know if you all had the opportunity to see it an aerial viewpoint. Did you?
There's an aerial picture that he provided.
There is? Do you know what
Wasn't
page
it?
that one's on?
Oh, wait, maybe that's,
All right, so if I could just share screen for just a second and then I will shut it off. Can you all see that?
yes.
Okay, so this is the detached garage that did get a variance in the past. This is the subject property.
Okay.
My concern, just to bring it to light and why I wanted to have a visual assistance, is he's asking for a 35-foot or 37-foot, 35-foot setback right here, which puts it considerably more forward than any abutting property owner up or down this street with the exception of this weird one, which was approved in 1984. I'm not really sure what the hardship was that they approved that. I haven't seen anything in my tenure where that would have been approved. But you can see he is a little back, but going a full 37 feet just to vocalize my concern so we can acknowledge it.
Mhm.
Puts him much closer to the road frontage than any other house in the neighborhood. And I'm worried about setting a precedent. I do understand the hardship and I do feel for him and I understand it. As you can see, it's a single car garage, which is very dated and not the norm anymore, but I'm not sure we have the luxury to include in this particular thing. Let me stop sharing, or maybe I can actually just show us. I apologize while I go through
That's
and
all right.
find out which one.
There we go.
This is the one. So I'm not sure if we could suck up this little area here somehow and bring it closer in general. That's the 7 foot he was describing as the additional, but to be frank, it looks like 7 feet 9 inches plus this area from this point to the front of a car doesn't seem to be minimalized. And Tarek, one of the things we do is, first of all, we make sure we can't put it somewhere else, but we also minimalize the variance. So that's something, and that's why I'm bringing this up, is if we can minimalize the variance, it's easier for everybody involved. And that sort of underscores my my biggest concern is the depth of this garage. And if anything can be put to this area to the right where we close off this area and allow some of this to be within this area and move the whole garage closer to the house. Tarek, are you following what I'm saying by chance? So your garbage, if you will, would be in here, that service area.
This is Ram. I have a question.
Go ahead, Ram.
So if it is too close to the road, is there any safety concern backing up the car from the garage?
I don't think so, to be frank.
No, because there's more than there's a car length at least.
And this is, he's including a K-turn, if you will, area.
Right.
Okay.
So
I understand your point, Stephen, for the for trying to minimize the footprint. Again, we're looking to accommodate this accessibility ramp here, and so I understand that that's in conflict with the objectives of the ZBA, and so if there's as well.
So where it says up, yeah, your cursor's on there right now. Is that the ramp?
That's the start of the ramp, yeah, and that travels up. To be able to the grade of an accessibility ramp is very low,
right?
And so even a short sort of 2 feet is has a long runway.
That's where I was, Tarek. So if you took this up ramp and made it perpendicular and put it right here, that's pulling us a good 3 or 4 feet forward, just by having the ramp not have a 90 degree, which, if I'm not mistaken, is not, the best thing to have multiple turns within a ramp. So
yeah,
it's like I said, we work with people. We're not just flat out yes, we're not flat out no. We work with you to see what you think is a viable consideration for a meeting ground, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, I would say, if there is some room and within, if you look towards the area to the left car, and these cars are sort of standard sedans, but oftentimes you want to accommodate for sort of pickup trucks and things like that. But to the front of that left car, there is space there. I would say before we tried to squeeze out that little sort of that kind of courtyard, which it looks larger in this picture than it is. I would prefer to move the doors back, the garage doors back a little bit further towards the house. Purpose for that being, again, one, to accommodate that ramp, but also to not lose that window that's in the kitchen. It's a design feature, but not a sort of a safety feature necessarily.
So there's a window that's like, is that the kitchen sink where the cursor is?
Yeah. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah, it's a sort of a design. It's a design element, but that's the only window in that, basically in that kitchen.
Right. So you'd lose the window. So when you were saying you would rather move the stair or the ramp to the left, you're saying to the left. Okay, there.
No, I'm
Think
saying that
here,
there is.
Direct's not
that
doing
there
that.
is-
Ryan.
There is some room in front of the vehicles there, so we're trying to create as much sort of room in front of the vehicles for walk around and accessibility. But there is room to move this whole to decrease the depth of that main garage there. if
Yeah,
you
I'm
say-
looking at how much extra space you have between the car bumper and the rectangle that says up. And
Right,
I'm
if
wondering
you-
if
if you
that
use the
space
sort
could
of-
be reduced. I know it's nice to have the extra space to walk around,
Yeah,
but Stephen's point is valid about the size of this variance is a little daunting.
Well, it's also
And
just to bring it back, it's also the topographical, keeping
Right.
it in line with the other frontage setbacks of his neighbors.
Yes.
it is the same. It's actually a little bit of a lesser step. I understand this is from a previous ZBA committee many years ago, but it is less than the setback from the neighbor to the north, just as a visual.
This one,
Okay.
which is just
Yeah, that
weird.
one. So that one sits closer to the road than what you are proposing.
Correct.
Okay.
And visually, like on that road, it's kind of amazing. The property to the south, even though they're not, they didn't require a setback, their garage is further back. Visually, I think it will look more or less the same. But I think to your point, Stephen, I think that would be the area that we would try to absorb some depth there, is a little bit at the front of the car, instead of going against the house
Yeah.
entirely and losing that little bump out section.
Okay, let's not get caught on this. I apologize while I find the screen again. Let's see what other questions the commissioners have so we can move more towards a summary, if you will. Does everyone want me to keep sharing this or switch
Yeah.
back to the
Yeah.
multi-view?
Can you make that larger again like you had it, Stephen, for a second, please?
Yep, let me just,
And while you're doing that, I just want to get clarification on, I'm understanding everything around the setback, but going back to the accessibility and the ramp, are you saying it's going to be straight on or is it going to have a curve?
It will have this curve to this was actually designed with the handicap person. They said this is basically what they wanted.
Okay.
Okay.
So is with this sort of up and then the turn over there.
yeah, 36 feet is a lot of room.
It's a lot of
Typical
space.
garage, I actually looked it up. Your average garage for 2-car is 20 by 20, 22 by 22, or 20 by 22. These are just standards, so I know they want, their ideal scenario, but I'm just, trying to find the halfway ground. I apologize to them, flopping around trying to find the gosh darn text.
No, that's all right.
There you
I
go.
think just to that point, Stephen, is I think that's regarding like the footprint of the garage itself.
Right, just going
As
straight
opposed to-
across, which doesn't work, but we've got this gray area. Tarek,
Right.
what do you feel the depth of this gray area is?
Yeah,
That
what
could
is
be
that?
removed?
I think it's about 7. If you see the dimension right above that, because this is to
about
scale.
8 feet.
I think
from here
it's
to
probably
here.
maybe a little bit less than that, maybe about 7 feet there.
I
So
disagree.
I wouldn't
This
I
is
wouldn't want to
8
go.
feet right here.
Yeah,
This line is 7 feet, 10 inches long, so 8 feet still brings you out to here. So
Right.
go ahead.
so
do you
I
think
wouldn't want to reduce that to less than 3 feet. Just in terms of the width of a chair, for example, like a handicap chair.
Well, you have to be able to walk around the front of the car before you hit the ramp.
Exactly, right. So that's what I'm saying. That can be accomplished with with 3 feet, I would say, not less than 3 feet. So, there's there's 4 feet potentially, I would say, to work with there.
I just, not to be the devil's advocate, if you put the up ramp over here, that incline is no longer ADA compliant.
What, I'm
If you
sorry.
cut
say
out
that-
all of this and just have a ramp from this point up to here,
Right.
It might be
I
too
wanna come
steep though.
to-
If it's a 2.5 foot rise, would that be too steep for that short distance?
Yeah, that's why we had to turn it. Yeah, because we just didn't have enough of a
Can't,
run
you
there.
know, there's probably, I'm not sure what the math is on that, but
Yeah, even if you ran it straight, there wouldn't be enough run room if you did a straight shot.
which is why they advise you to do a turn. I'm assuming
Well, just to be able to get the grade, we had to
the
do a turn.
length, yeah,
Yeah.
for the grade.
And so this space, as well in front of that handicap ramp can also be used for like bins and things like that as well.
All right, Tarek, how about this one? Just thinking outside the box. What if we make it wider? So these two cars shift to the right and now your ramp follows my cursor all the way back here. And that way we can truncate it because you've almost got an aisle for the wheelchair or what have you in here next to the cars. And that way we can move the garage closer because the cars can abut up to here.
You're saying wider to the left, Stephen?
So I'm saying so instead of this ramp going 17 feet, 0 inches left and right, I'm saying have this go straight 17 feet, 0 inches here. And then the car that's right here would be right here. And we close in this area a little bit and make a little courtyard, if you will, in here. And move both cars to the right so that a handicap ramp can be the correct grade going all the way down here. I mean, usually a handicap car is one of the two cars, not both cars. Are you following me on that? Or is it too weird?
I think, 17 feet. So it's more than 17 feet because that's, so you're talking, I think it's, if I remember,
About
it's about
20.
22 feet. So if you look at that main section of the garage there being 27 at that depth. So, from the door to where that bump out starts is 27 feet. So if, let's say the proposal here would be to go increase the width and decrease the depth, you're still basically you'd be basically all the way to the back of the garage, like to the garage door with that ramp. So I don't think it works in that way. The other thing is that from a design aesthetic, like in harmony with this is a big garage, and so I think increasing the width is just going to it's going to make it look a little bit lopsided, the house. Having the doors to the street like that, and then sort of make it a little bit wider. I think it's going to look funny. I like the creativity. I don't think we're going to be able to accommodate the ramp that way as a straight shot. I think it's just too long. And I don't think that I think that the design would look a bit funny for the neighborhood.
Is the
Okay,
porch
I'm
that's shown on that drawing existing yet, or you're adding that?
No, so that's the existing, Stephen just had the existing photo. That porch is being added.
That's being
there's
added.
Yeah.
So
The
it
second
comes right
page-
to this edge, right, Tarek? That
No.
bump out?
The bump out goes in a little bit from that edge. It goes, if you see that there's a sort of a window there that's existing to the left of that corner, the other side.
That window,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that garage is that bump out is going to come to about right where you have your pointer there. And then
Oh.
the garage will be basically in line with the corner of the house, which is going to be a little bit further
Yeah.
back from the bump out.
But then
If you
you're gonna
have
have
the- if
this
you put the-
reveal here that's kind of weird, isn't it?
the review, if you go to the rendering on the next page, Stephen, that'll kind of show the, from the application that you just had up, sorry.
So you want,
Yeah, Stephen, it's
This
also in
one?
the staff report too. If you scroll down, it should be on the next page of this staff report.
There you go, yeah.
okay,
Okay.
So you can see how that window from the kitchen peeks through. That's really the, the purpose of that bump out is to,
Oh,
is
I
to,
see.
in addition to accommodating that ramp, to allow for that window in the kitchen.
okay, let's poll the commissioners and then we can drill down on this. I want to make our next applicant wait too much. So let's just poll the commissioners. Ram, have you asked any other questions you have? I know you asked one quick question.
I'm good for now. I don't have any other questions.
All right, Sharon,
I don't have any other questions either.
Larry,
Other than I think it's a little too deep, I have no other questions.
okay, and Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the depth of the garage, I think for wheelchair maneuverability, and even if you shrunk that, like you were talking about, Steve, with the making it not as deep, closer. I mean, you need the room to maneuver with a wheelchair, but what, and then we're talking about, instead of a 17-foot variance, maybe is it 17 or 18, and then reducing it a foot. I think you're kind of splitting hairs, and with the neighbor support, and I don't see, I was thinking about if you could do it on the other side of the property, but that doesn't make sense with the bedrooms there.
And the
So,
septic.
yeah, and the septic. So to me, I don't know. I feel like with the accessibility, and you want that room to maneuver, with a wheelchair for access, and then it goes up into like a mudroom. I don't think I have any questions, but just from my point of view, the depth of it makes sense to me, especially in, if we ever get bad weather or anything like that. I don't know. I just feel like it seems reasonable to me. But yeah, I don't know what you would do in that area. I see what you guys were talking about to the left of the porch. I don't know what you could do there, but you can't really shrink it. I mean, maybe by a foot or two, but again, I don't really have any questions. I just think that it seems reasonable to me. So.
Okay. All right, there's nobody here for public input, so that is acknowledged and we'll move forward for public input. Just to remind everyone, so this is the open application period. When we close an application, two things happen automatically. One is we must either accept or deny the application. We cannot tell the applicant to come back with any changes. The other thing that happens is we can no longer ask the applicant questions. So with that in mind, are the commissioners comfortable with closing this application at this point, or do they have additional questions for Tarek that he might be able to discuss what he was willing to accept as a median point, or if he is not willing to accept any changes whatsoever, it will help guide us.
I think I would like to know what, if any, change in the depth in front of the cars he's willing to accept.
Yeah, I think thanks, Joy. I think we can close that distance in front of the cars, between the distance between the front of the cars and where the ramp starts, for example. That's right now is about 8 feet. I wouldn't want to make it any smaller than 3 feet, that distance, in order to have the maneuverability there in front. And so I would say, maybe we can come forward maybe 4 feet from where that is, from the front of the car.
Which
So
would
that would
make,
still give,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
about 4
Which-
feet between the front of the cars and the ramp, which I think would be accommodating.
That
Which
makes
would make
14.
your which would make your variance 13 and change instead of 17 and change.
Yep.
Does anyone else
No,
have a comment
correct.
about that?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct, Joanne, on your arithmetic. Tarek, what if we made this a U-turn and took this up and turned it sideways? You know what I mean? So the entrance, you would come this direction and then switch back and in. Is that viable? Because that would pull us another foot or two forward just by having it be a switchback instead of a 90, which at that point, you know, it's not much difference with this versus entering here and the switchback. Is that something you would entertain?
We actually played with that. It actually doesn't really save any space on the depth. I see what you're saying, like you'd enter further off to the left
Yeah.
and then you'd have, you know, sort of more run room there.
Yeah,
But
do like a
because of
hairpin
the width,
turn.
because of the width, you don't save any space there. And because of the width of the ramp, you don't save any space in the depth of the garage there.
Okay. Anyone else before we close the application, or if anyone wants to object to closing the application, which means we have to render a decision?
So Tarek, if we close the application, it means that you're done with your comments. So if you have anything else, this is the time.
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
With that being said, I'd like to make a motion to close the application number 23-05 of Tarek Raslin Simsbury Capital LLC, owner applicant for a 17-foot variance to reduce the front yard setback from 35 feet to 18 feet and so on. Can someone second it?
I second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous, is now closed. And just to remind you, Tarek, we won't mute you, but you can't talk. So you're kind of muted. All right,
I'll mute
so
myself. Thank you.
you're welcome. So anyways, I understand his thing and I see he's working with us. I do have some concerns on setting a new precedent on the street with nobody else comes forward. And your garage is per our zoning regulations, which is not a stipulation per se, that's black and white. We try to not have the garage project far in front of the building. So it keeps it sort of, you know, so that it looks aesthetically pleasing, that you don't have this one piece just sticking out into the road. I do appreciate he's willing to see that we, you know, there is some room, I believe, in this plan to grow. He had suggested a reduction of 4 feet. I'll be honest, I think we could even reduce it to 5 feet, and that's where my soft spot is. It brings the variance, it's still giving him an extra 12 feet above and beyond. Because it's not ideal that he can't just do this, and it's not ideal that he has that long a garage is very rare. There's not that many garages with that sort of depth in town. So that's my personal thing. Joanne, usually you let us know next what your personal feelings are on this.
I appreciate what he's trying to do here. And I see what you're saying, Stephen. I'm not gonna split hairs over a foot necessarily, but I do think that that's the place to make this variance be more in keeping with what we're comfortable with passing, based on, as you've said, setting the precedents. There is that house next door to him that has that kind of wonky garage that I'm not sure how that happened, but it is there, and his is going to be set back further than that one is. Maybe that one got passed because it has that corner lot problem. I don't know what was going on there, but he is. Oh, go ahead.
Joanne, is it gonna really be set back as far? I thought he was saying that it wouldn't be.
It will be further back toward the house, I think, than that one next door to him. It won't be as close to the road as the one next door.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more palatable than that one next door, in my opinion. So yes, the precedent is kind of touchy. There were other houses that were in that application that showed garages like that. There were some pictures in other parts of the neighborhood that had those front garages. These tiny little lots, I get with these tiny little lots, there's not much you can do. These 1950s houses that we have all over town, I think improving it and making it a more valuable property is, I applaud that piece. So I would be more inclined to go with the 4 foot. If 5 feet is doable, I'd be happy with the 5 feet.
Okay, well, that's, it's a cushion area. I think either is viable, to be frank. Let's continue polling the commissioners. Larry, you're next on my screen. What are your thoughts?
Well, my concern is the way the plan looks now. If there's a car parked in the driveway, that is going to be very, very close to the street. I think if you can reduce that 4 or 5 feet, I think that's the answer to it, because then we won't have that issue. But if there's only 18 feet in front of the garage, plus the other area that we don't count, it's just, I think, a matter of safety. But I'm good with the 4 or 5 foot reduction in the depth. I mean, the average car is about 18 feet now.
So, Larry, if you were going to pick 4 or 5 feet, which would you pick? Just so we start getting.
I think because we're looking at something to make it accessible, I would go with just reducing it 4 feet.
Got it. No worries.
Just giving them a little more room to maneuver for people with disabilities. I think that 1 foot could be a big difference.
Okay, no worries. And Ram, moving along to you. Your comments?
Yeah, I echo Larry because of the disability accessibility movement. I'm okay with 4 feet adjustment, but at the same time, I have the same concern about the safety. If there is a car parked in front of the garages in the driveway, it will be too close to the road.
Okay. And anything else?
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, Sharon.
So I, as you asked Larry, I would have been at 4 rather than 5. And so my question would be to you, Stephen, then that would mean, does that, and I need this for clarification, that it means that we would have him come back, right, with the adjustments to the plan. Is that correct?
We cannot, because we closed the application.
But correct me if I'm wrong, we can change the approval when we word the motion to allowing a 13-foot variance instead of a 17, plus or minus 13 instead of
Yeah,
plus
we
or
can
minus
grant
17.
whatever variance, and then it's up to
So
him.
we
if
can
he
grant
wants to
it,
use
we can grant it in our motion, and then he doesn't have to come back, but he would have to follow that.
Yeah, he'd have to figure out within his allowance, or he'd
Right.
have to apply again for a larger variance.
Right, so it would be inspected based on the motion that we approved.
Oh, that's what I was getting at.
From
Joanne.
there, so we're zoning, so we're going to decide what the footprint is.
Right.
What's actually within that footprint and setback moves over to building department.
Right.
And that's Henry Miga's going to decide what's okay with him as far as the ADA compliant ramp and so on and so forth. That's outside of our purview. We're just doing the footprint of the house.
I think what all Sharon's trying to figure out is that if we approve a plus or minus 13-foot variance, from there, the applicant would adjust his drawings, build it according to the variance we approved, and then it would get inspected and it would have to meet those requirements.
That's exactly right, Joanne.
And I agree, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So they wouldn't have to, they don't have to come back to us with new drawings and have it approved again.
Right, but it's in our motion so that as it goes forward, they understand that there was a difference from what's documented here.
Correct.
That's what I was getting at. Okay.
And they will be getting, it will be put on the land records as well as they will receive written documentation of what the variance is. And I might also add, just so we all remember, this variance goes along with this this property into perpetuity.
Into perpetuity. Yes.
I think I said that right.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just so if I could add, so during the approval process with building, zoning also takes a look at it. So Joe would have to do zoning sign off to make sure that it complies with the approved variance.
Right.
All right.
Yes. Joe, you looked like you were going to speak.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, to echo Brittany's point. So basically, once a variance gets approved, once they move to the standard process, let's say, for any kind of development in a residential area, that being the necessary building permits and the zoning compliance review, the last step in the zoning compliance review is a final zoning inspection where I actually go out on site on the property and I document it to make sure that it was built according to the approved plans.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we haven't heard from Mark yet. So Mark, I'm sorry that you are at the bottom of my screen today, but we are
No worries.
finally
No
to
worries.
you.
I agree. I think if it can be reduced a bit, 4 or 5 feet, take your pick, then that would be better. But I think we need to keep in mind the accessibility just for maneuvering a wheelchair and things like that. So, you know, I think that if it's, again, neighbor support, you know, a lesser variance is obviously better for us to approve. So taking that from 17 to, 12 or, or 13, then that's better. So I would say that you could reduce that space there before the ramp, but I don't know exactly how much, room you need for a wheelchair, but that's just the only thing I'm keeping in mind.
Okay. So does someone want to make that final motion? And just to remind you, first of all, there is a sample motion that is attached to the staff report. It's always at the end of the staff report. And we also have to always acknowledge the hardship, which I believe, and please feel free to jump in, the hardship is handicap accessibility and the limits of the lot as far as there's nowhere else to put it with the septic tank location.
Sounds right to me.
Agree.
Okay, since it sounds right to you guys, does someone else want to make a final motion?
All right, I'll make the motion. So I move to approve the zoning board, move to approve application 23-05 Tarek Roslin Simsbury Capital LLC owners applicants for a 13 plus or minus 13-foot variance to reduce the front yard setback from 35 feet to 22 feet. Did I do that right? Pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulation, section 3.9 for the construction of a 777 square. Oh, if that's going to change. I don't know what that's going to be now.
Well, it's still going to be 777. Oh, you're right.
Not.
All right, Joe, how do we deal with that? Because now it's not going to be 777 square feet. Or Brittany, I don't care who answers.
I don't want to step on Joe's toes, but you can say the dimensions of it instead of the square footage. I don't think that should be a problem.
All right, what are the dimensions now?
It's 23 feet, 11 inches. It's right here on the screen, 23, 11 inches
by
31.7
31.7. Okay, so I'm going to back up a little bit.
I love this.
Pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.9, for the construction of an attached garage that measures 23 feet, 11 inches wide by 31 feet, 7 inches deep. Attached garage on the property located at 24 Village Road, zone R15, based upon the following findings. The hardship being the need for handicap accessibility and the limitations of the lot size
And the septic.
and
Yeah,
the
the
septic.
location of the septic.
Thank you.
Great. Who would like to second the motion, perhaps?
I'll second.
I'll second. Ron got it.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
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 And Mark, I didn't hear you. Are you an aye?
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Tarek, thank you for taking the time and also working with us. I wish you
Good
the
luck.
best. Thank you. Okay, with that being said, let's move right along to application number application ZBA number 23-06 of Andrew and Amelia Dalton, owner applicants, for a 25-foot variance to reduce the side yard setback from 40 feet to 15 feet pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.9, for the construction of a 512 square foot in-ground pool on the property located at 12 Browngate Lane. Andrew, I'm assuming that you are going to present on behalf, I shouldn't assume, are you going to present on behalf of yourself? And if so, could you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, I will present on behalf of myself, Andrew Dalton, 12 Browngate Lane.
Okay, so basically tell us what you're planning and what the hardship is, please.
Yep, so the reason for the application is that my wife and I would like to install a pool for us and our 2 kids. Given the topography of our lot, the location of the house, and the location of the driveway, it makes our side yard the only practical place that we could put a sort of relatively normal size in-ground pool. And so that is why we are seeking the variance of 25 feet. A few considerations for the board are that due to the topography of the lot, you would not be able to, and you can kind of see this in the staff report, you would not be able to see the pool either from the street or from the adjacent property. And I did include in the application a letter from the adjacent property owner supporting the installation of the pool and our application for a variance. And so I feel like that's pretty much the executive summary from my perspective, and appreciate the board's consideration. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so I'll start off. The patio, I believe, is already existing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And would you consider, again, just to reiterate what you already heard me go through with Tarek, we're going to try and minimize your variance. If we allow the variance, we want to minimize the smallest amount that gets you where you want to be. With that being said, so I'd just like to acknowledge for everyone our topographical viewpoint. The pool will go here. This is the patio that's already been built.
You're not sharing right now.
Well, I'm sharing it with myself and I'm happy.
Okay, just letting you know.
All right, fine. Here, share.
I know it's a
Happy.
pain. I'm so happy, Stephen.
So this is the existing patio here. The
Right.
pool is gonna abut it, and what I am asking him, once I find our, all right, that's gone. This is gone. Bear with me 1 second.
That's okay.
What I am asking him is if we could lower the amount of the patio I just showed you here and move this pool in, which would, of course, reduce our
Yeah.
setback request, which is this line here. So you can see how far over the setback line, which they already do have a variance, I might add, just if we could pull it forward. Andrew, is that something you would consider?
I would be willing to consider that. I think the size of the pool, I believe it was listed as 512 square feet in the application. The dimensions of it, I believe, are actually around 12 by 24. So that 512 may be including the patio space. 12 by 24 is a little bit on the smaller side of a sort of normal in-ground pool. I think typically they're 18 by 36. And so we already had reduced it a little bit to try to stay as within the guidelines as we could. I think a pool could go to like 10 by 20. I'm not exactly sure what the variance request required for that would be to put a smaller pool in because of the sort of angular nature of how the property line crosses across the pool. But I think it would be possible to put a slightly smaller pool in and reduce the variance a couple feet. But as I mentioned before, you cannot see the pool either from the property that is north, because it's set lower from a topography standpoint, or the road. And so hoping that the board would consider the 12 by 24, although I appreciate that there's the need to reduce.
So just to underscore what he's saying, you've got the forest here, or the trees rather. It's right here. The Canoidans can't even see it. And this is his abutting neighbor, which I'll just reiterate, wrote the letter in the affirmative that he has no opposition. And this is town of Simsbury land that bumps up against it. But going back to this, what about pulling the pool so there was not grass between the patio and the pool? Would you consider, and again, I'm just asking these questions, you don't have to say yes. Would you consider, though, abutting the pool so it directly abuts your stone patio and you don't have this, I assume, grass between the proposed pool patio and the existing stone patio?
The reason we would prefer not to do that is that if you think about sort of the chairs that go around a pool where you can sit down and sort of lie down on, I think you typically need, I believe, 8 feet to have those fit. And we had wanted to be able to put chairs sort of against the patio and then looking into the pool, just because of the direction that the sun comes across the house in the afternoon. And so that sort of was the rationale for how far we had pushed it off of the patio, is to enable to put some chairs there.
Okay, sticking with that same thought, again, all my observations, I'm just hitting you with, is no right answer or wrong answer. Would you consider elongating this area here behind the setback line so that this was deeper for your chaise lounges and such, and reducing the width of this base leg, for lack of another term, to half of its diameter? Usually you have your seating area sort of in one area. This would enable you to have one seating area here and another seating area here. Is that something you would consider?
Just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, Stephen, you're talking about pushing the pool sort of in a southeast direction?
That is one interpretation, which is valid on its own merits. But just to be honest, what I was saying is, see this area, this depth, which I'm guessing is like 6 or 8 feet.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. I'm saying make that 12 feet. And that way you've got your chaise lounges down here, not, breaching the setback line. And we could reduce this from 6 feet, if that is an accurate measurement, to like 3 feet. So you still have your sidewalk to get around, but to be frank, you wouldn't be putting chairs in this area. And again, these are just observations I'm making that you can either say that sounds interesting or that sounds silly, and it's nothing I'm willing to consider.
My understanding of how the regulations work is that the setback is from the edge of the water. And
Yeah.
so
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Because the patio, he doesn't need a variance for the patio. You can
Touche,
put a
you're right.
patio in. You can put a patio over your whole yard if you want to.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's really the edge of the pool. It's just the white rectangle that we're concerned with.
Okay, that's insightful. You never stop learning or remembering. So that's cool. All right, then fine, Joanne. What do you have for questions?
So the variance, that being said, have we made sure that this variance is only for the white rectangle? Because that doesn't look like that many feet. Oh, wait, the 40-foot setback. Oh, I see. So the 40-foot setback is all the way to the corner, the bottom right corner of the pool.
This is the 40-foot setback.
Yeah, so almost the whole pool is in the setback.
Correct.
Okay.
the normal setback, because we had the variance approved, or previous owners had the variance
here.
approved in the
So you
1980s.
had a variant, there's already a variance that travels with the house.
Correct. And to give
Got
the board a little bit of backstory on that, that was submitted and granted in the 80s. My understanding, talking to, I believe it was Laura from the town, maybe in April or May, was that the pool that ended up actually being built was not in compliance with that variance. It went across it. That pool was removed by previous owners around 2008. And if I was speculating, they could not get a sort of normal size pool to work within the 15-foot variance. And so that is why they incorrectly, of course, built it not to the variance.
Right.
So I'm just gonna switch back just to remind everyone how isolated this area is. Because I think it is relevant to what we're doing here or discussing. The pool is here in this section.
Yeah.
Okay, with that being said, Ram, do you have any questions or comments? Your microphone's muted right now. There you go.
Did he mention anything about the hardship yet?
Oh, I'm not sure. Andrew?
The hardship is the topography of our lot, which I believe, Stephen, you had that up. So we have a very sloping property, and the only flat space is that side yard.
There were some pretty good pictures in the application too, showing the slope. Pretty steep.
Are the, oops, wrong way. This one shows the slope.
Yeah, they're really surrounded by slopes.
Okay, because of that slope, there is no other place that they can put.
Now you
other
can
than
see
the
that's
same.
flat right here, Ram, if you look.
Yep, that's
And then
it.
if you go this way, it falls.
And it really falls pretty, and there's even a retaining wall in the back, right? Because it's so steep.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions, Stephen.
All right. Somehow Mark has moved up on my screen. Mark,
Yeah,
you're now in the third position. You're on mute though.
Yeah, that's great. I'm like a horse coming from behind here. Yeah, I don't see like Stephen, your proposal to move it even just to the south. I think that's southeast there. I don't know if that does a lot for anyone. It's kind of, you know, maybe you gain a foot or two, or I don't really know, but yeah. And then with there's not a lot going on in the back, like you said. It's sort of that part of, you know, Simsbury where there's just not, it's not dense, you know, like you know, near town sort of. But I think that with that, it's a large ask. It's a lot of I mean, 25 feet, what we were just looking at, 17 feet, and we were getting up in arms about it. And I think this is a little bit different, though. It's not as densely populated and with neighbor support. And then with the slope on the property, you know, just looking at the map and everything with what's included in the paperwork, the application here, that there's just there's really nowhere else to put it. So, and then with the realization that it's not the patio, it is the actual pool. I don't know, you gain a lot by sort of shifting it, you know, diagonally, the way you look at the map there, diagonally down, like to the right. So,
And
yeah,
Mark,
I don't
if I
see.
might add one comment on that, it would actually, we wouldn't really be able to move it that far, because if you note the location of the septic, we need to be 25 feet from the septic. And so
Yeah, I see the leach field. Yeah.
Yeah, so that right now, the way it is drawn, it's 27 feet from the leach field, or from the tank. So there'd be a limited distance that we could move it without then having an issue with that side of it, just as additional context.
Is that retaining wall existing, or are you building that?
So there's a retaining wall on the side of the pool that is facing towards the very steep sloping area, sort of on the, I guess, northwest part of the pool. There's not a wall on the southeast part of the pool.
Okay.
That's the retaining wall there.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you gain a lot by moving it. So, it's a lot of, I want to say footage, I don't know if that's a word, but it's a lot of, I mean, that 25 feet is a lot, but again, just with, it's not that densely populated and you have neighbor support. So I don't see what else you could do there.
All right. Larry, what are your thoughts and feelings or questions? Thoughts and questions.
I agree with Mark. There's not much you can do with it. Other than moving it closer to the, if you shift it towards the stone patio, maybe you'll gain a couple of feet, but that's about the only way to do it, to reduce the variance.
Okay. Granted, did you have any questions for the applicant by chance? We'll give you another chance in just a second. Sharon, did you shut the lights on wherever you are?
No, it's just I'm in the car, so.
Oh, it got dark out.
Oh, yeah.
Dark.
Regardless, what questions and comments do you have for the applicant?
There you are.
Yeah, so I don't have any, and I think based on what's been what he presented, I'm okay as it's been as he shared. I think that based on the the topography and the what he's put forward as a variance. I have no other questions of him. I'm okay with what he's presented. So.
Okay. So just a reminder, the same reminder, if we close this hearing, we can no longer ask the applicant any questions and we must render a decision tonight. If anyone is opposed to that, please speak up right now so that we can avoid that. I'll just pause for about 2 seconds and hearing none. I'd like to make a motion to close application. I apologize. ZBA 23-06, Andrew and Amelia Dalton, owners applicants, for a 25-foot variance to reduce the side yard setback from 40 feet to 15 feet pursuant to the zoning regulations section 3.9 for the construction of a 512 square feet proposed pool. Someone has to second that, please.
Second. Sharon.
And all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, well, it's unanimous. With that being said, the application is closed. We can talk to staff, of course, with any questions. I will lead off that. I think the letter from the only abutting property owner that's really relevant carries a lot of weight in my opinion. And also the fact that I have been reminded that the patio doesn't even count. It doesn't seem like as large a variance, just based on the fact that lest we forget, he's already got this far out.
Right.
So he's asking to go just this triangle more for a more aesthetically pleasing and well-placed pool. So I am inclined to be in favor of this application. Moving forward, Joanne, you're still in the
So
next spot.
I have a question that's maybe more general for Brittany or for Joe, whoever wants to answer it. So this variance, should we grant it, travels with the house for the rest of the house's life, right? So the variance is for a pool. Could this variance be used for anything else other than a pool?
That's good.
That's a
So,
good question. Yeah.
My understanding,
question.
I don't know if Brittany wants to jump in just to reaffirm this, but my understanding is that once a variance is granted to reduce the setback, that reduction essentially carries with the land.
Or any type of building? Like if someone came, I'm just putting it out there because I
And
feel
wanted to
like
put a shed, right?
if someone wants to put in a big giant addition on the house, they've got the variance, they can do that.
No,
That's
I
my
don't. Oh.
No, go ahead.
So in my interpretation, it's the variance for what's being asked for. So the
For a
pool.
pool.
So it would be the plans that go associated with the variance request. It's a setback for that. It couldn't be a setback for anything else.
For a different type of use,
Right.
like to
Right.
add onto the house.
Correct.
Okay, I feel like that's a valid question going forward in our future for all applications,
Yeah.
because this is a big variance and it's very close to the property line, if we grant the new one.
Can we
So,
put-
I
So-
think it's
I
a
have a
piece of
question.
information. We should have the answer to that.
I have a question.
Oh, Rob.
Yeah, so if it's only the white rectangle that comes as a setback, is the variance now less than 25 feet? Or is it still 25 feet?
Joe?
So the overall variance, and then again, correct me if I'm wrong as far as the interpretation of what was just said. But so my understanding is you're basically asking if the variance was already approved for 15 feet into that setback, and now we're essentially saying they want an additional 10 feet for a total of 25 feet. Is the
Mhm.
variance for 25 feet, or is it some other variation on that? And the variance is for 25 feet to essentially go 25 feet into that setback to build this pool.
Okay, so it goes from the original, it kind of.
From the original setback, that's correct.
Right, we kind of wipe out that first variance they got in this.
Okay.
Okay,
Correct.
got it.
Can we stipulate what type of construction or a maximum elevation of a structure can be erected? In this case, it would be 0 feet.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, I mean, the motion as it's written by staff is for an in-ground pool.
Right.
So does that mean
Correct.
that's all they can use this variance for, is an in-ground pool? Okay,
Correct.
that's really the
That's correct.
question. That's really my question. I don't want to make it a bigger question than it is. If this variance can only be used for an in-ground pool, that was basically my question.
Right.
They can't
So the
apply this
deliberations are
variance.
based, yeah. All these deliberations are based on the request for a pool.
Got
So
it.
it could only
Okay.
be a pool.
Correct.
Just a little piece of education there. I just wanted to clarify it. Thank you.
Sharon, did you ask the question or do you still
Well,
have it?
I was going down the path of Joanne. I was trying to figure out, and Ram, I knew we had the previous variance and I was trying to figure out, does this wipe it out or does this add on to it? But I think we got that clarification
Right.
that it's now just a total of 25 and it is for a pool.
Got it. Very good.
All right, and Mark, somehow you are back in last place.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with everyone. It's that small triangle. I mean, I don't really have any issues with it. I think that going back to what I said, that it is a large variance. Yes, it is, but it doesn't seem like, again, neighbor support, not being too densely populated with a lot of homes, and I don't think I have any reason to say no or to vote no. I agree with everyone, and I think that I don't see anybody coming in building a stage and throwing concerts on to bother neighbors. So I think that, yeah, again, no questions. I would approve this.
Okay, I believe that. Does anyone else have any questions or comments on this application? Hearing none, does someone have the staff report to make a final motion, Andy? Named Joanne?
I do have it in front of me.
All right, not to always defer to her, any of you can do it, whoever.
Really, if anybody wants to do it, feel free, but I have it on my little phone here.
Okay,
So I would move to approve application 23-06, Andrew and Amelia Dalton, owners applicants, for a 25-foot variance to reduce their side yard setback from 40 feet to 15 feet pursuant to the Simsbury zoning regulations, section 3.9, for the construction of a 512 square foot in-ground pool on the property located at 12 Browngate Lane, assessors map C04, block 203, lot 043, zoned R800S, based upon the following findings. The hardship being the topography of this property does not have any other usable space, any other flat space for a pool.
Who would like to second this motion?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And it is unanimous. Thank you very much, Andrew. Have fun in your pool.
Thank you. Appreciate the board's consideration.
Thank you. Okay, moving along, we have general commission business. The big news tonight is Joe Hollis has made use of the alphabet letters after his name. So welcome, Joe. Again, just to reiterate, he's our guy
Yay.
now. Yay.
Thank you, guys. It's great to be here.
Traditionally, the new liaison does buy us cookies and such. So
We'll see if
We
it's
have
in
to
the
have an
budget.
in-person meeting for that, Stephen.
I'll send them in the mail.
yeah, okay. I'll stop by, dude. Don't worry.
Oh, just cookies, not pizza.
I like where you're going, Rob.
Well, I was gonna say crumble cookies.
Crumble
Oh, now you're
cookies?
talking.
I don't know what those are. What's a crumble cookie?
I will send you one, Stephen.
Okay, and I will receive it, Sharon. With that being said, Brittany is still also our liaison. You're welcome to talk to her. Of course, George McGregor is still down there doing his job as well, so we can all reach out to anyone.
Yeah.
I believe from here, we're just gonna have Joe going forward, Brittany, or will you also be part of this?
Yep. Joe is your primary contact. I'm here to support him though whenever he needs me.
Great,
There
appreciate
you
it.
go.
All right, Brittany or Joe, do you have anything else to add to the general commission business section of the meeting?
Nothing at this time.
All right, so we'll assume we have a meeting next month. It feels like we haven't had one in a while.
Is there any applications right now?
As of right now, I don't have another pending application.
Okay, so just
Minutes.
I'm trying to find the minutes. I did read them and I didn't find anything wrong with them. Honestly, Amanda, is Amanda still here? Oh, there you are. Amanda did a great job.
Yeah, they look
Did
good.
you type these or did Brittany do it?
I believe, yeah, I believe it was me.
This is the best minutes I've ever seen. So I don't know.
Really? Oh my goodness.
All organized and everything's on bold print, underlined. You got everything going on.
Yeah, the formatting is very helpful.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
that's
I'm
what
glad.
I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Very good.
So with that being said, would someone like to make a motion that we accept these minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
Okay, and
Second.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right.
And is there anyone that needed to abstain? It looked like everyone agreed. So it's unanimous. Oh, no, you are abstaining, Sharon? Or you're?
No.
All right, because we also, just to remind everyone, we did have a discussion. I hope it was ZBA, maybe it was another board. You can still vote for or against the minutes, even if you're not at the meeting technically.
Yes.
So you don't have to automatically abstain. If you think that Amanda did a good job and everyone else says they're accurate, you can also vote for or against if you wanted to. So that being said, it moves us to our final motion, as we already did the open discussion. Who wants to do it?
I make the motion to adjourn the meeting for ZBA on August 23rd at 8:13 p.m.
Who wants to second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, Larry, you're good with. Larry, are you there? I think
He's
Larry's
having some
frozen.
I
internet
think he
issues.
froze. He's having internet issues.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he had texted me at one point with it. Regardless, I'm sure he's fine with it. Thank you all for your time.